Pensions and benefits for police, firefighters, and EMTs highlight this week's edition of Inside Politics. Yesterday, thousands protested at the State House over benefit cuts and layoffs. With us now from our Newark Bureau are Steve Lonegan, New Jersey State Director of the Americans for Prosperity Foundation, and Bill Lavin, President of the New Jersey Firefighters Mutual Benevolent Association. Welcome to you both, gentlemen. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Jim.
And Bill, why don't we start with you and get right to it. There are those who say you're not being straight with your membership, that the state just doesn't have the money to come up with these pension payments and keep up with health benefits for your membership. So can you please speak to that?
Sure. The governor dismissed this rally as greedy, me first, and we obviously respond to that it is me first. When my members are called to a fire, they're talking about me first. They're always the me first, ready to help, and that's the same of the police. As far as having the money, if the truth be told, and that's the problem with this administration, the governor is not telling the truth about our pension system, about our safety. By the way, this was not a rally, it was an emergency response. Our ability to keep people safe has been compromised throughout. But on the pensions itself, if you look at the numbers, our system is 70% funded in the worst economy of our generation. So if the state would be making its payments and a little bit of a turnaround, and this is with money that was taken out and stolen over time. We pay 8.5%. Our members continue to pay the highest amount, and our system is relatively healthy, and all they need to do is to pay their share, and this system will rebound.
Let's let Mr. Lonegan have at this for a moment. Sure. Steve?
Jim, I don't understand the connection between having the most lucrative pension system in the country and our safety. In Bogota, as mayor, we always had a volunteer fire department, and there's numerous volunteers across the state of New Jersey who serve that function and aren't sitting there worrying about their pension system or anything.
Steve, you're not saying that Newark, Patterson, Trenton, Camden, the likes can go with volunteers, are you? Or are you?
Oh, they could. Yeah, I think they absolutely could if given an opportunity to do so. There'd be a lot of great volunteers in Newark. You saw all those people already in the news coming out to meetings. They'll never have an opportunity to have volunteers in these cities because the unions have a lock on it, and the unions don't want volunteers. They don't want volunteers. No, that rally yesterday was all about, keeping those lucrative pension systems in place. That needs to be changed immediately. We need to put new workers into 401ks, not these defined benefit plans.
Before we get back to Bill for a moment and give him a chance here, let me just ask you, Steve. He says they're not that those pension systems are not in as bad a shape as you, the governor, Steve Sweeney, and others have said.
There's not an analyst on Wall Street or financial analyst that will back that up. These pension systems are doomed to fail, and they're going to get worse over time because you have people living much longer. We have not paid enough into it from either side over years. The benefits, when you have a defined benefit plan that guarantees that this union workers are going to get 67% of their best 2 years' salary for the rest of their life, including cost of living increases, including health benefits for life, it's just not sustainable, Jim. Just not sustainable.
All right, and let's let Bill speak to that. Bill Lavin of the Firefighters Union. Bill, do you have a rejoinder to Steve Lonegan?
Absolutely. Some of the nonsensical, first of all, to imagine that we're going to have volunteers in our inner cities and serve around the clock is just an outrageous statement and has no facts to it.
That's pretty insulting to the inner cities, Bill, and I do not agree with you at all.
Well, it's insulting when we take away the safety of the inner cities. But what they're not being told, if you looked at the system, if you took police and fire, PFRS, if you look at the state trooper system, because we pay the highest amount, because our mortality rate is such, don't forget, police and fire, unlike the mayor and unlike all private citizens and other workers, are not eligible for Social Security. That pension, and when you say lucrative and use the words like unsustainable, and if you say it often enough, people like Steve Lonegan will say it often enough, and the governor will say it often enough.
Bill, every financial expert in the world will tell you it's not sustainable.
Let Bill answer then.
If I could please, and to that, I grow tired of coming on shows like this. The governor has set a tone of disrespect. And when we interrupt people when they speak, trying to get their words out, I'm really tired of going back and forth. People like Steve have joined into that. Nobody wants to have a civil conversation. The governor with the name calling, with the lack of meeting with people, people interrupt one another. if I as a firefighter or a police officer acted in the manner that some of these politicians do,
if I don't interrupt you, I'm not going to get to speak.
Especially the governor, we would be put on charges for conduct unbecoming.
All right.
It's
now
a disgrace.
I'll
let him speak, and I won't interrupt.
Let's let Mr. Lonergan go ahead and have his say there. Steve?
Jim, I've negotiated 7 contracts, police contracts, not a firefighter contract, but they're very similar. AFW contracts with DPWs. I've been across the bargaining table for negotiating
Former Mayor Pagoda, as you said earlier. Go ahead.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, when you talk about what these unions are organizing against, it's not against collective capital. It's not against union bosses. Who are they protecting themselves against? Taxpayers? I mean, when you go to the bargaining table with these unions, their last argument is always, just raise taxes. Just raise taxes. And that's why we have the most costly benefits in the country. And that's why New Jersey has the highest property taxes in America.
All right,
I'd like to issue a challenge to Bill. Why don't you step aside, and the unions should allow volunteers in the inner cities. Just allow it. Let's see how many volunteers we can recruit.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, sure. We have programs like this. We've tried to recruit volunteers in inner cities. We can't even get volunteers in any of our in our suburbs.
All right,
don't interrupt me, Mayor. And let me just
no. This is Jim. We're almost out of time.
Yeah,
I want to just say we're out of time.
Okay.
But can you just speak to the fact that you don't give in to concessions because you want to protect jobs? That's what the governor's saying. That's basically what Steve's saying. 10 seconds.
Nonsense. Zeros across the board we've taken in Gloucester. Linden for taking 2 zeros and the commitment not to lay off. They laid off anyway. And without unions, I wouldn't have an SCBA mask, and I wouldn't have the protective gear that I have. Unions are important.
All right. Bill Lavin, FMBA, Steve Lonergan from the foundation. Thank you both for coming in, Americans for Prosperity.
My pleasure, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.